Alright, so we're talking about domain and range today, and your learning target is I can find the domain and range of relations and functions. So first let's talk a little bit about how relations can be displayed or represented, and we're going to use the following example to understand this a little bit. Okay, so in a scoring system, this is this section right here of some track meets. First place you get 5 points. Second place is worth 3 points. Third place is worth 2 points, and fourth place would then be worth 1 point. The scoring system is a relation, so it can be shown as ordered pairs. For example, first place was 5 points, second place 3 points, third place 2 points, fourth place 1 point. We can also show this relation using tables, graphs, or mapping diagrams, okay? And so below here, this gives a couple of different ways that we could actually go ahead and map or show this relation. Okay, we could use a table where you have track scoring, they got place and points. You guys know a table pretty good. Graphically, where one value is your y, the points, the x value is the place that you got, and it shows that if you got first, then you get 5 points. We could also use some sort of a diagram like this, where the place and points are in two little boxes, and then we use arrows to identify what happens from one place to the next place. Okay, those are a few different ways that you could display a relation. So we need to answer the question though is what is domain and what is range? Okay, domain, what we're talking about when we're talking about domain is that is the set of possible x values. Okay, x being the first value. Okay, it's the possible set of x values. The range then, the range is the set of possible y values. So when we're looking at a graph or a table or a diagram, we're trying to take a look at what are the possible x's. That is, and the possible x's is what we call domain. And when we talk about what are the possible y values, that is what we talk about when we're talking about range. Okay, so given this first example here, we need to give the domain and range of the relationship. Okay, so domain you can write as just a D. In range we can write as this little r right here. Okay, so if we're looking at domain, remember domain is the set of possible x values. And we're looking over here at the graph. There is a line segment from the point where x is 1 and it goes all the way to where x is 5 over here. Okay, so if I'm talking about our domain, then what I'm saying is that x could be anywhere from 1. Okay, we have to say 1 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 5. This relationship right here gives the possible values for x. Okay, it could be anywhere bigger than 1 but less than 5. So it could be 2, 3, 4, or 2.5, or 2.75, or any number in between 1 and 5, right? Now our range talks about the possible set of y values. Okay, the possible set of y values. And we see our y, our lowest y, is at 3. And it goes all the way up here just to 4. Okay, so our y values, y could be as little as 3, but as big as 4. So it could be any number between 3 and 4. Okay, it could be 3.1, 3.15, 3.74, you know, any of those numbers. Okay, it could even go up to 4, but it could not go past 4. It couldn't go past these extremes. And so if I'm asking you to write the domain or range of a relation, this is exactly what I'm expecting you to do. Okay, example 2 gives a little different type of a representation of a relation. Okay, this is a diagram, a mapping diagram. And we always have our x values. Remember, x is the input and y is the output. And you can see that the arrows go one direction, right? So that means that this has to be our x, our input, and this area has to be our y, our output. Okay, and we're trying to find the domain and the range of values that we could have for each of these. Okay, now domain deals with x's. X could be 6, 5, 2, or 1. Those are the options that we could choose for the value of x. So when we're writing domain, we usually write it from least to greatest. The least number in here would be 1, It could be 2, 5, or 6. Those are our values that we could use for domain. Range is the same type of thing. We could have -4, -1, or 0. And we see that 5 and 1, they share 0 right here, right? That's why there's only 3 numbers. Okay, so our range, remember least to greatest, would be -4, -1, or 0. So from this type of graphical representation, it's a diagram, this is how you would write it. Now this is different because we don't know what x is if we have 2.5. So you have to separate it just by those little commas. Example 2 is the same type of thing, except this time we're using a table. And so again, we've got our domain, we have our range. We have to put for our domain every x value that's possible. So we have 1, 4, and 8 as our possible domain, our possible x's. And for our range, we have a 1, 4, and a 1. But these 1s are the same, so we only use one of them when we're talking about our range. It could be either 1 or 4. Okay? And that's how we're identifying domain in